Joining us live is Summer Sanders. Summer, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Big J. I'm great.
Excellent. I'm excited to talk to you because I'm familiar with your work because as a young one growing up, you were all over the place. Like I watched you on Inside Stuff. I watched you doing a little bit of the Nickelodeon stuff, plus obviously the Olympics. So, I mean, I kind of feel like I've grown up with you, and it's good to see you still all over the place.
Oh, thanks. I loved all those shows. I feel like I have had a few lives in this business, sliming people and then getting a chance to hang out with the NBA players. It's been kind of a dream. I really have enjoyed my career.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome, and you get to do a little bit of everything, too. And the newest one, obviously, people are watching you on the Celebrity Apprentice. How'd that come about? Was this something you wanted to do, or did they have to twist your arm, or why'd you decide to do this show?
You know, they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I went and met with the executive producers. They asked me why would I do the show, and I said for my charity. And then I brought a bunch. I didn't get to see the last season, so I brought a bunch of the DVDs back, and my husband and I watched them. And my husband was really hesitant, but when it came down to it, I thought it would be a great opportunity to introduce the country and hopefully the world to my charity, which a lot of people don't know about. It's called Right to Play. You can find out more about it on righttoplay.com.
And
we bring sport and play to developing countries and children who've been affected by war. So when I took that into consideration, it was a no-brainer. I knew I could conduct myself in a way and in a manner that my kids would be proud of and my family would be proud of. I just knew if I went in with that attitude that everything was going to be fine.
What was your husband's apprehension about it? Was he afraid you might do something embarrassing or get you out of control?
No. I think his apprehension was exactly what happened last night, which is listening to people say awful, nasty things about you behind your back. It's like the worst case high school. It's just, listen, I was watching it with my family. I don't know if you caught it last night.
Yeah.
But Sharon, goes off on me in her private interview. She was such a sweet woman to everybody's face, but then she gets in her private interviews, and that's when she really goes off. And so to hear that, even though you're like, okay, it's Sharon Osbourne, it's kind of what she's known to do. And so she's calling me Polly Perfect and riding on a horse. And I'm really glad she told me that because I didn't know I was riding on a horse. So I got off that one real fast. But I just think when you hear that kind of stuff, my goodness, there's no other way to take it except, to be a little bummed out by it. So that's the hardest part. It's kind of brutal that way.
When you watch the show, do you really get deeply affected by that stuff, or do you think maybe, she's doing it just for the show, trying to be a little out there?
I think she's doing it just for the show. I do think I didn't get a warm sense from her when I was there, even though she didn't say anything to my face. I wanted so badly for her to like me, too. I hear her on the phone with Ozzy, and she goes, "Hello, my darling." I just wanted her to say that to me just one day. But you know what? I'm a grown woman. I don't need to be friends with everybody, and I can take it if Sharon doesn't like me. And the funny thing is, I've seen her since we finished taping the show, and she was lovely to me. So I don't know. I'm sure it is for the show, but there's really no great way to take somebody going off on you the way she did. And, quite frankly, I think there's a great way to do it. I don't think I was bad to Cindy. I know that people are pretty bummed out that I quote unquote threw her under the bus. I call it constructive criticism in my everyday life. And
for people that didn't watch,
my best to do it gently.
You're talking about Cyndi Lauper, and you got a little upset with her last night.
No, I just said to her, we had 10 hours to accomplish this task, and there are times when, and I swear to you, it's the editing of things. It was more disrespectful the way everyone was handling Cindy in rolling their eyes when she'd go off on these tangents and whatever. Everyone was doing that. And I found that to be more disrespectful than telling her up front that this is the way it is, and we would appreciate it if you could kind of recognize that and work on it a bit. But, and the fact that I was project manager, we really needed to get things done. We couldn't have an incomplete task, and that's the way we were headed. So I had to take control of the situation. Yeah. I wasn't a great project manager, but in the end, as Sharon as our spokesperson. I think it was fantastic. My son was actually the little kid that was in the picture, so I got to see my son during that shoot, which was fantastic. And then my charity one, which was the reason why I did the show.
That's awesome. And last night, I mean, more controversy on the show. Darryl Strawberry left, and he kind of like quit the show. What was the deal with that? What do you think happened there?
You know, it's funny because I sensed actually from Darryl that he just felt like it was getting a little bit catty. I don't think he's down with that anymore. You know, I'm sure he's had his fair share of cattiness in his day, playing ball and the situations that he's been in his life. And he honestly is one of the sweetest men I've ever met. So I can't imagine him being put in a situation where he has to hear bad things about him or has to say bad things about somebody else. But I can't speak for him. He said he was tired. I don't know, and I don't blame him. It was an exhausting schedule. And, you know, I'm bummed he quit. I think he's great. Darryl Strawberry's the king of New York. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is a legend for sure. Who else? Like, who on the women's team is your favorite? Do you have is there one person that stands out that you think this is a person like I could probably even hang out with after the show?
Yeah, Holly and I are buds. Holly and I are buds. She and I sort of share the same passion and kind of the way we live our lives. We're both moms. We're very passionate about our charity. We're both hard workers. You know, we didn't come on the show to be outrageous and say ridiculous comments. We came on the show to win money for our charity. And I think we recognized that in the very beginning. And she's funny. She's funny.
Yeah, you can tell that. What about Rob Blagojevic? He seems like the easiest guy on the show to hate. What's he like in person?
He is. He just keeps putting himself out there to just be ridiculed. Poor Rod, man. And I say that because poor Rod, because he's making himself... I don't think he's making himself look very good. But yeah, he can't use a computer. He can't. There's a lot of things that Rod can't do. But he's pretty clever with his comments and his comebacks. And but I don't think he's the fan favorite.
So he's got something going for him. He's good with his comebacks, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of your charities, you're really big into helping children get involved in sports, things like that. You talked about Right to Play, teaching kids outside of the country or introducing them to sports, but also you're kind of big into just childhood activity, period, and like the fighting the childhood obesity thing. Isn't that one of your big causes? Yeah,
I'm a part of In Play. You can find it out on inplay.com, which is just encouraging kids to literally get out and play and exercise. I do. It's an epidemic, childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes. I think that we all need to recognize that. And video games are fun, but I as a mom, anticipate putting limits on the number of hours that my kids can play video games or watch TV, simply because I want them to get outside and be active and run around and be kids. And then just going back to my charity, Right to Play, actually, it's not about sports as much as it is teaching kids the important lessons of life through sports. Because we're talking about, like, for instance, I went to Sierra Leone where they had a 10-year civil war. And imagine a 6-year-old abducted from their home to then be forced to be a child soldier. And so for the next 10 years, all they knew was killing, and they didn't have a mother and a father and a family. Their family were their fellow soldiers. And then all of a sudden the war ends and they are just left to themselves. And we bring sport into these communities to teach these kids how to be responsible, caring, respectful, accountable members of their community. Conflict resolution, inclusion, nutrition and health are all taught through sport and play. And they have fun with it. They have a smile on their face. And all of that combined, it just does wonders for the community. And it's a sustainable system.
Yeah, they can keep it going. That's awesome. Summer Sanders, you're playing for Right to Play, a great cause, and also you're very fun to watch. The Celebrity Apprentice, Sundays at 8 o'clock here on NBC Channel 9 here in Billings. Summer Sanders, thanks so much for being on the show, and good luck the rest of the competition.
Thank you. You have a good morning.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Big J Show. Weekday mornings from 6 till 10 on Billings' #1 hit music station, Hot 101.9.